We are recording. How you doing, my friend?
I'm very good, Roger. How are you?
I'm good. I'm great, man. We are back once again. When was the last time we recorded?
Once again with the Renegade Master. When did we last record? We last recorded, it's probably coming up to about 8 months, 9 months. I feel like it was just when COVID was kicking off.
Yeah.
April, May. We had two stabs at it, and I think I can't remember, but yeah, it was. We had some great conversation, and sorry it's been so long to get back on board, man.
It's happened.
Apologize.
Yeah. Hey, no worries at all. What have you been up to during this whole situation? I know a lot of people are, I don't know, like working remotely. Some people unable to work. Some businesses have shut down. So what about yourself? How has that been going?
Fascinating journey for me, man. I mean, coming up to just before COVID, I split off LMS and created LMS Health from my old brand, and then COVID came along, and that was pretty intense. You know, we're in bricks and mortar location in prime London, so real expensive rental real estate, and so we had to really navigate that. So it was a tough period, and cut back the hedges and re-strategize, work on delivery models to clients of the services that we're delivering. Fascinating time, fascinating few months, and it's nice as a small business to be able to be nimble. We created like some really amazing content around immunity at that time. Pushed through creating my supplement brand. I was working with some supplements for the last couple of years with an American manufacturer, and we pushed that through with COVID coming along as best as we could, and then we went through this period like July, August, September. We started to get a bit of normality back in London. If you remember, summer seemed to be, there's some good times in summer as well. Yeah. And so like business started to regain itself a little bit, and then that was July, August. And I had to rebuild a new team by that point and retrain and look at all my operating manuals and systems and things like that. And then I managed to get some time away, which is really important. I managed to take my parents away to Turkey. A lot of people thought I was crazy, but I did it in the safest manner as possible. I'm glad I got to spend that time with them. Went somewhere really beautiful. Then we got back in September, October was good, and November the second wave in London started to come back, and I decided to get away. So I went to Brazil for a couple of weeks.
Nice.
And managed to get some me time in, like deep in nature in Brazil, a place called Ubatuba. Highly recommend it. And got back in early December. And I've been working actually on creating a new brand that we're launching soon. In probably a few weeks, the kind of pre-launch is happening, and that's all about communicating healthcare differently. Like helping people understand wherever they're at in their journey of health. At one end, disease; at the other end, high athletic performance. Helping them understand how to navigate the health and wellness world from a kind of health perspective. So we've been working on that. That's going to be cool. I'm looking forward to that. I'm actually, for the first time yesterday, started to get a buzz about it in a weird way. Like up till now, it didn't, it was obviously working towards it as a team, but for some reason yesterday it started to feel really real and like get to that pre-launch buzz, like, I don't know, when you're launching something and then like a few weeks before you start to have that buzz. So yeah, that hit me yesterday. I was like, yeah, this is happening. It's a great time to speak to you, bro.
Awesome, man.
That's it, man. It's been a great year in many ways. Like, been a tough year in many ways. Introspection, family time, love people time, like friends. Spending time on things that matter, reflecting on what matters. A lot of that's been happening.
Yeah, I think a lot of us has needed to do that, really, and some of us it's probably happened naturally too, and some of us has kind of forced us to think, proactively on situations, and yeah, appreciate a lot. So I hear you there. So you'd mentioned you'd been working on a different model to your business on um, what is it, like a new approach to fitness, or to make the model of fitness easier for people to understand. How exactly have you done this?
Right, it's more to do with rather than the physical side of fitness, it's more to do with like the health, the systems within us, the biology within us,
Mhm.
um, and trying to professionalize and medicalize health, where you define health as a state of vitality. All right. So what I mean by that is, instead of traditional healthcare being delivered around disease states, which we know it's excellent at doing, managing diseases once you get the disease, um, it's not very good at understanding and delivering care around preventing disease and optimizing your state. So you have the best energy, mood, sleep, focus, digestion, immunity, etc. Yeah. So that's what we mean, and helping people understand that they can achieve these things and what to look for, when to look for, how to look after their gut and how important digestion is, and what they should do every now and again to improve the health of their gut lining, what they should look out for, why should they do detoxification, why is that important every now and again, um, and the diff- and other things, like looking at looking at health from an engineering perspective, and then communicating that easily for people to understand. Um,
I think that's good and
yeah, so
important.
it's less about kind of fitness. We're not really focused on the physical side. Um, we're really just focused more on the kind of problem side, like the way people might feel, and and if you think of all of the things that you might go to your doctor for, but you're like, actually, my doctor's not going to know, like if your mood's a bit off, you're a bit more irritable, you're not sleeping as well, um, but you feel like there's something not right, that's where we're at. What are the data points we look at? What are the systems and processes within us producing those? And what are the kind of biological data points we can look at? You know, what are the important blood tests? What are the important urine tests? What are the important hormone tests, and how does that all fit in? And other tests like organic acid, some of the stuff you may have heard about speaking to others, like metabolomics, and
Yeah.
how does it all fit in? Yeah, and we've been working really hard to be able to create a system where we say, all right, what is the Maslow's triangle of need? What is the hierarchy of need of the human body to produce optimal health and vitality? Right, you start at the foundation. What is the foundational health? Right, that's your micronutrient absorption, that's your and delivery, that's your hormones and the balance of your hormones, that's your um, full blood count, immunology markers, etc., etc. So we came out with, okay, these are the markers important for foundational health. Then you want to go to the next stage, which is still very important. How do you identify and optimize your digestive tract? Then we go into the next stage, your metabolomics. How you're taking food and making energy, whether you're in this kind of adaptive state to be super responsive to make energy, or where you're sluggish making energy and it's just going into storage, into pro-inflammatory fat. And then you go into your kind of endocrine balance. Then you go into environmental influences. And as you go up, most of the people will only need the bottom three, right?
Mm-hmm.
They'll feel a difference from just working on the foundational level. But as you go up in need, like high performance, longevity athletes, you're going to want those little 1% more additional gains. Then you start looking at heavy metal exposures, genetics, etc. You don't start with that stuff. You start with the foundation. So we've been trying to make sense of it, put it
Mm-hmm.
into practice with our patients. And the nice thing is, when you take people through this programmatic approach, it's a journey. It's not like, okay, let's just do 1,000 tests on you, 1,000 markers, and we make these recommendations.
Mm.
See you whenever you want. It doesn't work like that. That prescriptive model doesn't work. It's about hand holding people through a journey. Cool, let's fix these couple of things, touch base with you in a couple of weeks, see how that's getting on, support you to make those changes. And if that doesn't work, we'll re-strategize. And then the next month we'll start working on digestion, and the next month we'll start working on the other things. Make sense?
Yeah.
So that's been cool. It's been cool to develop that programmatic way out, because ultimately you know, we want to be recruiting other practitioners, doctors, health practitioners, to see a way of delivering this that isn't just like, okay, and a way to educate other people to deliver this. And to do that, you know, we have to be developing these kind of programs that come with their, you know, patterns that we recognize with the related interventions, and then you can teach people how to deliver it. So that's been cool. You know, we've been piloting all these education programs in-house with creating our own, we call them health geniuses, right? They start as like superstar nutritionists in their own right, but then we further train them up in this kind of advanced testing, how to interpret wearables, behavior change models, so that they can actually enable behavior change and help people take control of their environment to influence their biology. We haven't cracked the mindset stuff or the fitness stuff yet. And it's, you know, like we work with, you know, but there is a, you know, massive need, and there's a lot of people doing this amazing stuff like yourself on mindset, and we do refer people, you know, to kind of to listening to some of the amazing messages you're putting out and others are putting out in fitness and mindset. Yeah, so that's us. That's what we've been doing, and now what we're going to be launching with the new brand, Watch This Space, is basically an online version to make us accessible, to make it more accessible, to make this knowledge more accessible. And we're also, you know, launching, if people can't do the testing, then through that same hierarchy approach of health, how they can do little supplements. Like, what are the important foundational supplements? Do I need to take them? Okay, go through some questions online, work out if you need to take them. Okay, these are one or two recommend for your foundational. For your digestive optimization, do I need that? Okay, let's ask some questions. Okay, yeah, you look like you got signs of leaky gut. Looks like you might have signs of ABC. Why don't you try 1, 2, 3 for a little 4 to 6 weeks and see how you get on? Oh, it looks like you might have some adrenal fatigue. You're a bit tired and wired, you know, from the symptoms that you're describing. Some of these patterns are very, you know, like you see them a lot and increasingly. And so for the common stuff is common. We are supporting through, you don't need to test directly. You can use some safe supplement strategies, and just to make it more accessible, affordable for people to be diving into these kind of approaches. Yeah.
That's
So
great.
yeah, exactly. And it's been 5-6 years in the making. You know, I've been piloting it on patients. We've worked with about 300 patients through this deep data-driven approach for the last few years, with the mindset of always, look, you know, I want to be able to create support with my team and create a system that helps people navigate through this on a journey. Healthcare is always best as delivered as a journey rather than interventions. And so, yeah, so that's kind of more about us. Yeah.
That's really cool, man. That's really cool. And the sheer fact that you break it down so it's nice and easy for the patient to understand as well. They understand the reason why they're taking certain measures or certain precautions, and, you know, taking them through a journey in the right systematic approach is really important. And also having everybody on your team singing from the same hymn sheet. You know, you all have an understanding on the system, you know, how it works at your facility. That's really cool, man. I like that. I remember I was working with a client on mindset, and he was suffering from depression for like 8 years, and he was taking antidepressants for between 8 to 9 years, and he decided to come off it. And to cut a long story short, I had a chat with him, and I learned that the food that he was eating was the main problem, and also the sleep. His sleep was completely off. He was sleeping at early hours of the morning, and he was eating junk food most of the time. So I understood that if you're going to be eating junk food all the time, that's going to be affecting your mood always. And, you know, it's going to have a cascading effect onto other stuff. And so we looked into his sleep, and we looked into more nutrient dense, high mineral content foods. And that was the main thing. Other things we could fix around it, but these were the main things. And I thought to myself, why wouldn't a doctor look into that? Why would you prescribe someone drugs
Right.
when you don't just ask some basic questions?
Right.
You know, that these are the fundamentals. And I think you'd mentioned about, you know, certain doctors not following or going through, they're not experts on nutrition, but I don't even think you need to be a nutritionist to think of that, in all fairness. But it really surprises me, you know, that some doctors can be like, okay, well, all right, this sounds like you have this, take this drug. So what you're doing there is really amazing. I really
Yeah,
like.
Roger. I mean, look, I was a GP. I worked in inner city London in Tower Hamlets, and you know, I've done, I've done a lot of, you know, a lot of NHS time, and I've been through that system. And doctors in the traditional health system do some phenomenal work. And that system, the way it's designed, is fantastic at adopting innovations that happen in and around diseases. That's why we have cutting edge supportive or treatments for, you know, a lot of disease states and a lot of disease pathology. However, what we haven't yet developed out and what we haven't yet adopted is looking at a person as a whole. You know, even our traditional primary care, which is family physician medicine, has evolved. Back in the day, it used to be that family doctor knew you inside out. You
Yeah.
know, knew you, and so they will be able to put this jigsaw of you together much more easily. Now it's a lot more fragmented. The care is delivered around 10, 15, 20-minute consultations. Maybe you're lucky, you can have double appointments, but it's focused around organs and organs. And what we're taught, and it's not the doctor's fault, it's the way we're educated. We're taught healthcare based around diseases and how to manage those diseases. So you come in, Roger, you present with low mood. Yeah, you're saying, I'm depressed, I'm tearful, haven't ABC. We go through some classifications of symptoms criteria with you, and we say, okay, yeah, you're textbook depressed. Okay, what are our treatment methodologies? Do we need to do any testing? Number one, yeah, we might do a little bit of thyroid testing. Maybe do your vitamin D now. You know, might look at a full blood count, some basic testing. Like if nothing comes up on that, we will offer you psychotherapy. But it depends how far progressed. Obviously, there's different types of depression and different levels of severity and how much it's impacting you. I'm not discounting that. You know, that is really holistically thought about at keeping you safe. The traditional system is great as a safety net. And then it will say, okay, what is the nice guidance? What is the guidance for us to be able to practice within? What can we offer you from there? And we have a toolkit that is we're told that we can use in terms of testing and therapeutics for you, for everyone. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're treating people not as an individual, we're treating them as a regression of the curve of the population, right? So we're treating you like every other, like as if you were an average of the population. A 90-year-old, 70, 80, 60, 15, 25. Yeah. And we're trying to keep you safe is the way is the approach, rather than let's look at the other way. What are the processes that go on within our biology to produce mood? What affects our mood? Okay, serotonin production, dopamine, neurotransmitters. Okay, where are those produced in the gut? Serotonin we now know is massively produced in the gut. What's related to that? Oh, probiotics and microbiome, massively. Digestion. What else is related to mood? Energy production. Okay, cool. Because you know, if you don't have any energy, what is one of the major symptoms of classifying depression is apathy and lack of energy. Slightly two different things, but definitely lack of energy. Energy comes from the nutrients and how we take our food and absorb them, like you were saying. You know, getting the right nutrients in and making sure they're delivered around our body, making sure that we're moving and stuff like that. So all of those things come into play, right? So when you start to look at the processes that produce mood, rather than just classifying mood and its severity, you're looking at two different ways of looking at you. Now I can attach, in the second way, I can now attach a lot more biomarkers to the processes that produce mood. So we'll be looking at your gut, we'll be looking at your digestive, your microbiome, we're going to be looking at your neurotransmitters, we're going to be looking at your micronutrients that you're getting in. And then we're going to start to think about, all right, if you're not sleeping very well, like you said, absolutely very important, you're not going to have the energy, right? Because you haven't rested. So we're going to be looking at your sleep, diving into that. Are you going into deep restorative sleep, or are you staying very light sleep? What's happening there? Why is that? What can you do in your environment to make sure you get better sleep, to get better nutrition? And is there any data points we can look at? Is there anything you can learn from about yourself from the advancements in technologies like this Oura ring, for example? We all got one of those, or exactly, boom. Yeah, exactly. But there's how useful has it been for you and for me to have the Oura ring to look at our own data and say, wow, look, I'm not sleeping that great. And yesterday I did ABC, and that's probably why. And you learn, you self-learn, and then suddenly you're supporting people to become, empowering people, moving people away from saying that old mindset we all grew up in, where you outsource your health to the health system. But the health system's not ready for you. The health system is only ready for you if you're sick.
Yeah.
You outsource your sickness to the health system. You don't outsource your health to it, because the health system doesn't have the answers to produce optimal health. They have the answers when you're sick. Yeah. And so, now it's been great in the last 5 to 10 years. There is, especially in the last couple of years, a realization, a dawning. And everyone should be reflecting on this. Why, in one of the most developed countries in the world, are we seeing COVID so bad in the UK? Why is it so bad? Is it because we have one of the highest obesity rates in the world? Is it because A, B, C? Lots of questions, right?
Mm.
Our health system isn't designed to keep us healthy, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
And that's not the physician's fault. It's just the way they're trained and the way the system is delivered. Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
And they're very, and I'm just, I was on another podcast earlier, and I was just saying the same thing. It was just that I feel so blessed to be able to, as a physician, practice freely within reason. Yeah. To say to my patients, okay, this is the testing I would recommend and why. This is the therapies that I think would be beneficial according to the evidence that hasn't yet been adopted into traditional healthcare, but definitely has a role. And to see and to hold them through a journey, and to spend like an hour and a half with them, and have my team give them a dedicated health coach that works with them. That I've been so blessed to have been able to create that and see that and try that on people and develop it out and say, this needs to be out there more, man. Like, that is why I'm focused on the system, because that is why I want to be able to almost say to and as we're talking to professors within the traditional health system and some of the decision makers there, and saying, hey guys, look, okay, this innovation didn't happen in the NHS. It's very difficult to be disruptive within the NHS. It's a kind of massive system. I was a Darzi fellow, which means that I was one of it was a fellowship program where they take doctors that are very interested in being leaders within the health system, because I wanted to influence the health system. I wanted to change the way it was, support the way it was delivered, to make it more innovative and respond to people's health needs. And, I was doing really cool projects like connecting up Pentonville Prison to Whittington, working with expert diabetes patients to help them be the caregivers for the other newly diagnosed diabetes. So the education comes from someone who's an expert themselves, because they've been living with it, right?
Yeah.
Some amazing little initiatives, but it's an overtaxed system. It's very difficult to get people to innovate and adopt innovations in there. And thereafter, that's when I really carried on down my own path, having qualified as a GP, and said, you know what, let's see if I can adopt innovations and interesting things and study functional medicine and apply it safely on a subset of patients that don't have disease states. So we're not risking anything with them. And seeing if it works in a supervised way. And so our big mission is ultimately to support in the evolution of medicine, so that we can support in the creation and shifting of medicine to be from disease state to include pre-disease state. Right. And that is our big mission and big motivation. That's what keeps us going. And that's like the 5, 10 year, 20-year plan.
That's cool, man. That's really cool. Really good. What's your thoughts on, okay, let's say you have a asymptomatic person who has no signs of COVID-19. You know, you just live a normal life. And then you have some people who they get all the symptoms and you know,
Right.
they're
It's great.
burning and, you
Great
know,
question. Yeah.
they need to
Yeah.
go to hospital.
Great question.
Mm,
Why? The question is why,
yeah.
yeah? Yeah,
Yeah.
all right,
Why?
cool. Why? Okay, so two things. Number one is viral load. So how much virus that person is exposed to and into their respiratory tract will dictate um, how much symptoms they get. So that's one of the factors to consider. So if I get it off you, you've got no symptoms, most likelihood is I'm going to get it with no symptoms or mild symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the most likely. However, if you're sneezing away and you've got slightly more of the virus within your respiratory tract and I catch more of that, I'm more likely to develop similar symptoms and maybe if not worse symptoms than you. Yeah, makes sense.
Right.
And that's why the measures are in place to social distance and etc., because it's about the viral load slowly increasing as the number of people that have it, asymptomatic or otherwise, increase in a population. So that's one factor to consider. But the very important second factor is that in COVID-19 is that why do some people, say if we both had the same viral load, why do one person go on to develop more symptoms than the other? Yeah, exposed to the same amount of the virus. And this is all to do with your underlying immune system and your underlying immune response. Yeah. Now we have a natural immune system. It's always dealing with viruses, bacteria, fungi, parasites. You know, that's what we have within us, our white cells, our memory cell, our thymus gland, where it stores a lot of, where it creates T cells, our bone marrow. We have all of these organs that are all the time self-regulating and cleansing our body from external pathogens. Yeah. Sometimes they get tricked, right? And that's why we talk about food sensitivity and reactions to different things which drive inflammatory processes. But the main thing to understand is that for some people, they drive a hyper-inflammatory response. Yeah, they drive an inflammatory response to the virus, and some people don't. Some people just treat it like a regular virus, get some cold flu-like symptoms, and then start their road to recovery. Some people start mounting an immune response, and for some reason their immune response is like, I can't deal with this, I need to now mount a really strong inflammatory response, throw off some nuclear bombs in there to try and nuke this virus. Yeah.
Right.
And that's when, for those people, they start to get the leakiness of their blood vessels that causes around the lungs, that causes fluid to seep out and compress their lungs, the lining of their airways to become thicker, a bit like in asthma. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so the air doesn't travel in and out as much. And that's why those people go on to need ventilatory support and oxygen. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah,
So
yeah, totally. Yeah.
the question then becomes, why do some people get that more of that inflammatory response than others?
Yeah.
Okay, and we're seeing that there are commonalities in some people. Like we're seeing that some of the commonalities are the old age and the frail. Yeah, so they're more likely to get an inflammatory response, and it takes them. You know, that's why a lot of the deaths amongst the elderly.
Can you say, like, when it's elderly, what sort of age are we looking at?
I think the stats say like above 80, right? I think that's where there's a massive difference. But beyond those, there are obviously people in their 40s, 50s, 60s that have also passed away, or been heavily impacted by it. You know, I was talking to a guy in his 20s who called me up for support while I was in hospital, and he had this inflammatory response as well, right? And there are some underlying predisposing environmental factors. How you've lived your life can impact your genes, can impact switching on and off certain genes. And I suspect that some of these pro-inflammatory pathways are switched on by the environments of these people, whether it's exposure to types of foods that they've been eating, having pro-inflammatory fat, a lot of white adipose tissue, so obesity, centripetal fat that sits around you that's pro-inflammatory.
Centripetal, sorry?
Fat, so centripetal, but it just basically means sitting around your abdomen.
Okay. So it's not
lower
just
abdomen.
visceral, it's another type.
Yeah, so that exactly. Visceral is around your organs.
Uh,
So that sits within your abdomen, and then you got your kind of the fat that sits in your belly or your abdomen that you can actually pinch,
right.
right?
That's,
And some people and people have different types of fat distribution, right? So the
yeah.
people that have, sorry, I'm just adjusting my seat. So the people that have like a central fat deposition around the abdomen are known to, that body shape is known to be more pro-inflammatory, have
Yeah.
more pro-inflammatory processes going on. And the other thing, people that have poor metabolism, right? So what do I mean by metabolism? Metabolism is how you take food and make energy, right? So some people, if they're keeping their blood sugars high and they're not getting they don't have good insulin sensitivity, then what happens? The insulin stays raised. Now, one of the most pro-inflammatory molecules in the body is insulin. It's one we create, but it drives inflammatory pathways. So some of these factors are definitely contributing to the likelihood to develop an inflammatory response. Yeah.
Mm.
Now, let's talk about that. Let's go a little bit. I can stop anytime. Just tell me if I'm going off on a
You
tangent.
keep going, you keep going.
All right. I mean, like you're my guide. You're my shaman in this to tell me if people are going to be switching off or like this is interesting to the listeners and the followers, right?
Yeah.
So what was I saying? I was saying that metabolism. Okay, if you keep your blood sugar high. Now, what is the environments that keeps your blood sugar high? Why does your body keep your blood sugar high? Obviously, if you eat lots of blood sugar, oh, not blood sugar, but if you eat lots of simple carbohydrates or
Stress as well,
processed
maybe.
foods and sugars. Yeah, that's obvious. Number one,
Mm-hmm.
snacks, cereals, chocolate bars, crisps, all of that. If you eat that regularly, you're keeping your blood sugar high.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, your body can also create an environment where it thinks it needs to create blood sugar high, keep your blood sugar high. Why? Because it thinks it needs energy. What are the environments that causes your body tricks your body to think it needs energy?
Hmm. So tricks your body to think it needs energy. Well, I was saying stress, like maybe if you're scared or something, or
100%. Yeah, it's directly related to the fight or flight response,
Mm.
sympathetic nervous system activation, adrenal gland response. Okay, let's explain that, right? So if biologically we're created to um, be able to run away from saber-toothed tigers, you guys probably have all already heard this plenty of times, this kind of analogy. Um, but what happens when that happens? We have this fight or flight response. Our adrenal glands that sit around our kidney produce things like cortisol, adrenaline. Yeah, and these are the things that cause our body and set off cascade of physiological reflexes within our biology to keep us alert. Yeah, blood pressure goes up. We become more alert. We notice we're more alert. Energy, so the energy requirement goes up. So what happens? Your blood sugar rises, and then your cells become more resistant temporarily to insulin. So your insulin rises as well because your insulin is like, oh, your insulin pancreas is like, oh, blood sugar's up. I need to produce some insulin, but adrenal glands messengers are saying, no, yeah, you can stay. Insulin is fine to stay high. Cells just make the cells resistant to insulin. So you get some insulin resistance. Make sense?
Right.
So the insulin stays high, but insulin is pro-inflammatory. So in the short term, it's fine. How often are you going to be running from a saber-toothed tiger?
Not too often, I would assume.
Yeah. Yeah, not down in like Battersea or something. You know what I mean? Like in reality. But
Yeah.
that same pathway is activated, right? So much in modern life. And
Mm.
you've probably spoken about this at length on your podcasts with other speakers, but it's just activated so much, right? Like emails, WhatsApps, notifications, blue light, synthetic light. Now biology wasn't made for that, right? So now we're seeing these environments within this biology that are really coming out of imbalance that drive us towards these pro-inflammatory states. And then it leads to a cascade, because then you start storing fat as white adipose tissue, and that adipose tissue is pro-inflammatory as well. Sedentary lifestyles, You're tired, you become tired because you're wired all the time. So you're now in this tired and wired state. You take coffee to keep going and sugar, and you're drinking because you just want to relax, and it's this kind of spiraling effect that's impacting your biology massively, right? Making you more and more likely and taking you more and more down a path, not just towards disease, but towards unfulfilled living ultimately, right? Or temporary fulfillment from external sources, right? And the further away from actually, if our biology was in homeostasis, then everything around us can be in a lot more homeostasis as well. We can deal with stuff better. Right. So a bit of a tangent we went on there, but
that there was good.
But inflammation is the new currency of healthcare, and understanding the many things that drive inflammation, because we're going to hear about it more and more, like over the next 5 years, inflammation, how it's related to aging. We know that oxidative stress, you would have heard about, and that's why we create antioxidants. Everyone knows what an antioxidant is, things like vitamin C in our berries and what we eat. Why do we need antioxidants? To help remove oxidative stress, which is a natural process that goes on within us, but one of the mechanisms of aging. So that's one thing. And ultimately, it's how we process our external environment, whether it's like pollutants from our air or pollutants from our food, things that aren't God-made. Yeah, process things in our air or process things in our food. But we have mechanisms within us to support removing those processes, detoxification, and creation of antioxidants that help remove those. But if we overload the body, then those pathways can't do their job, right? They get tired, and then those pollutants start causing damage to the linings of our blood vessels, which make it more likely for cholesterol to stick to those blood vessels lining, which puts us at risk of heart attacks and strokes and mini strokes that we don't even know that we've had, a little blockage of blood and oxygen going to a certain area. That's what, does that make sense? So we've got that process that we need to think about. So there are things that you can do to identify those processes from in-depth testing, looking at advanced markers that we work with the lab in the US, the Cleveland Heart lab in the US, because UK labs don't do this test yet, that look at kind of your apoprotein E genotype, that look at whether your subfractions of cholesterol contain one of the most dangerous components, lipoprotein A, or not. So breaking down your cholesterol to understand your particular risk, understanding whether your genetics are manifesting and where you have a genetic risk to manifest. And that's more in our kind of longevity, working with the longevity client, where we're trying to get them living healthier for a longer period of time by managing those risks a lot earlier. Because the common things kill us.
No doubt. Yeah. And that's just food is common stuff. I was going to say, you'd mentioned just a moment ago about the antioxidants and how it's good for, I guess, reducing oxidative stress. What about those who might take a bit too much antioxidants? What's the downside of that? Because, too much of something good is not good, obviously.
Well, two things. Like, our body is a self-regulating machine, right, to some degree, and some of those processes need to be supported from time to time. If we're going to be driving the car in rough terrain, you're going to need more valeting, right? It's going to need more cleaning. It's going to need more servicing. Make sense? So if you're driving your car, your human body, in highly polluted environments, whether it's a lot of travel, whether it's extreme sports, a lot of tearing of those muscles, a lot of inflammation building up in those muscles regularly, repetitively, then you're more likely going to need some slightly higher support of antioxidants. But that shouldn't be maintained forever, because there is a risk of down-regulating your own production of that. So it's about understanding, okay, if you're going to upregulate your own production of antioxidants, how can you do that upstream rather than just taking things downstream? How do I encourage my own body to produce its own antioxidants in a healthier way? So we use a therapy called ozone therapy. Yeah, I don't know if you've heard about it or had anyone speak about it on a podcast before.
I've heard, I think the Dr. Scott Shah mentioned it like months ago, but please go.
Yes. Ozone is like ozone is 3 particles of oxygen, yeah, and it's found in our ozone layer. It's very unstable in that form, so it comes down to our atmosphere and air as O2. But it's been found that if I give you ozone, inject ozone into your blood, O3, it dissociates, so it splits up into O2, regular oxygen, and single O, which is actually an oxidative stressor. We give you an oxidative stress, yeah, by that. And then your body detects it and starts to upregulate its own production of powerful antioxidants like glutathione, right? It starts to upregulate its own production. So this is tapping into how you can put your body in through controlled stresses for a desired result so that it works upstream rather than me just giving you glutathione to take every day. I'm not saying that glutathione orally doesn't have a role. I'm not saying that, but you know, it shouldn't be a lifelong strategy.
Can I ask, you say that, you know, I've heard many people say taking glutathione, liposome is good on a regular basis. Is that not good then? People to
I don't know. I mean, I've just, you know, like my opinion is that if there's a way to increase your own production of glutathione, then we should be thinking along those lines. However, if there is specific things that you're going through, now what does glutathione also help with? Detoxification, removal of toxins, yeah? So it's antioxidant and it supports the liver to remove toxins, which is like a cleansing process that our body needs to go through. So if you're going through a detoxification process and you kind of want to support that, then by all means. And if you're struggling with heavy metal exposure, by all means, you know, and you want to support detoxification, go for it. It's not something I would be recommending as for someone to take as a long-term strategy, because I'd rather think about ways to upregulate their own production that you wouldn't need to do as regularly.
Can I just say, you've got some incredible equipment in your facility right there, but many people might not have the budget to be doing lots of those things there. So what would you say, what would you suggest is I don't know, a good measure without ozone if you can't afford it?
100%. And I think two things here. It depends what you're looking to achieve. So say if you're just, you know, if you're looking to support longevity practice, I suppose, like just like living healthier, then you can start to work nutritionally. Yeah, so to start to think about, okay, what can I take in foods wise, and then prior to that, is my digestive tract in a healthy state? Do I have any signs or symptoms that, you know, I bloat a lot after certain foods, or I produce a lot of gas, or I get some abdominal discomfort, I get reflux? If you're getting any of those kind of mild symptoms, then you want to be thinking about fixing that before working really smartly on nutrition. You can do that with nutrition, but also just some targeted supplementation to fix that as well, right? So that's what I would suggest. So work on that. Work on that first. Sorry, I got distracted there. And then so remind me the question. My dad just came in and kindly gave me a cup of tea. Thanks, Dad.
Yeah, no, that was cool. It's just you know, you'd mentioned about the ozone, and I was thinking, you know, people who
what
might
can
not
you do?
have access to
Right.
great.
So yes. So supporting detoxification, there's things you can do nutritionally to support detoxification. Even simple things like hot water, lemon, cayenne pepper in the mornings, first thing in the morning. That's supporting detoxification pathways. Intermittent fasting, getting into nature, breathing fresh air, breathing exercises. All of these things are great free things that everyone should be trying to put into their lives and to improve. And I think nutrition, we talked about, you know, think of food as a source of fuel, and if you're not going to be using the energy, then just understand that it's likely going to be turning to fat or going into some form of storage, depending on the type of food, of course, right? So always think of food as a source of fuel, and relate that to the time. And then think about kind of foods that are easily digestible, so your gut doesn't have to work extra hard to digest them. And those are usually God-made food rather than processed foods. You can start very simple, and things that will improve your microbiome, and things that are rich in prebiotic types of foods and leeks, and lots of great content out there on that. So that will improve the bacterial diversity of your gut, which will help in processing foods generally and producing things like serotonin and happy hormones within your gut. There are other things that people do and recommend, like a naturopaths that we've worked with talk about doing like liver and gallbladder cleanses every now and again, and they have protocols to do that.
Is that is that easy for anyone to do? Do you need a big budget for that?
No, you don't need a big budget for that. It's about using certain herbs that stimulate biliary production and contraction of the gallbladder, so you can start to clear out the pipes from the gallbladder pipe, which and little stones can come, gallbladder stones can be cleared from there, and that can be, that. So I would say, like, to summarize, like, go through a period of making easy transit of the type of food you eat for your gut, like, just a nice clean God-made diet for a little while, and alongside that, think about, is there anything I can do? Maybe some intermittent fasting, maybe some introducing some hot lemon water with cayenne pepper every morning. Drink half a liter of that. Drinking water 500 mils before your meal, 30 minutes before your meal, to decrease, especially if you're struggling with overeating. And sometimes we can all do that. That can really help with that, right?
Yeah.
So I would say those are the simple things. And then just like centering, getting to know your own reflexes that sometimes take over you. And I've been there myself, that when that stress reflex gets activated, it can take over the way you think and cloud your judgment and everything. So being more conscious of that is the starting point. Breathing exercises, focusing on your breathing, getting out into nature, phone free time, screen free time. All of these are evidence-based and necessary in this modern world, right? They're all combined. So I think those are like some really quick, easy starting points. And you're going to start to notice, even just by doing those, just be conscious of how you're feeling, how it changes your state a little bit, how your sleep is affected, how your mood is affected, how your thinking is affected. Yeah.
That's great stuff, man. That's great stuff. And you mentioned a few times about the gut. Well, quite a few times about the gut.
Yeah, sorry, I went on a bit about the gut.
No, it is really important though. It is. And I actually done a podcast yesterday with a guy called Sean. Oh, what is his surname?
Sorry, it's Sean. It's Sean.
Just call him Sean.
Yeah.
And he's got a book which is called Eat Smarter.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, it's wow. Like, when this podcast is out, definitely have a listen. It truly amazing stuff. Like, he's like a proper advanced nutritionist, and everything just to do with eating alone, just how just everything what is going on in the body is just simply through just eating, just whether it's to do with cleansing or optimizing, just mood change. It's amazing. So the gut is such an important thing to take care of. What I wanted to ask you was, what is the main issue behind gut permeability? What are the main culprits of that, and what is the best way to help to repair that?
Great question. So gut permeability, let's start with defining it and helping people understand what it is. Now, the gut is, and when we talk about the gut, I'm starting from the stomach and including all of that small intestine, large intestine, all the way out to the other side, in reference here. Now, the function of the gut is to take foods start at the stomach, produce digestive enzymes. The digestive enzymes help to break down the foods into smaller chunks, right? Then it goes through these kilometers of surface area. If you open up the intestines, surface area, and the function of the surface area of the intestines is to take that slosh, that broken down food, and to absorb the nutrients out of them. So the food's now been broken down to the core nutrients, the vitamins, minerals, amino acids, ideally. Yeah. So the apple or whatever we've eaten has been broken down into its core building blocks. And those building blocks get absorbed ideally through the cell, right? And the gut wall is only 1 cell thick. Okay. So what that means is that it's only 1 cell between the inside of the tube, which contains the slosh, and the blood supply that takes the nutrients out of that cell and delivers it around the body, right? Because ultimately that's what the digestive tract does. Very simply, the human body is a collection of trillions of cells, right? And we take oxygen from the air that we breathe, goes into our lungs, the lungs are wrapped in blood, and then the blood extracts the oxygen into the blood, carries it around the blood, and delivers it to these trillions of cells that use the oxygen to create fuel. Then at the same time, the second most important part is the digestive tract, which takes food, breaks it down into its core building blocks, goes into the blood, the building blocks. They get delivered around the body to the trillions of cells within our tissues, hair follicle cells, organs, etc. And the DNA in the cell, right, which is held in the nucleus, tells the cell what to do with those building blocks. Yeah, so it unravels and say, hey, we need to create this enzyme. And I'm a hair cell, so I need to create keratin, and I'm going to need these amino acids and minerals to create it. So then it plucks out those, and then it functions from that. All food is broken down to maybe like 50 to 60 core building blocks. Yeah, those are vitamins, minerals, amino acids, antioxidants are in there as well, and then we build other stuff up from there. Right. So that's very simply how this human body operates, like in terms of its core function, why we need air and why we need water and why we need food. Yeah. Now let's talk about the inefficiencies that can arise in the processes of digestion. Now, we were saying that slosh goes down, gets absorbed through that 1 cell thick membrane into the blood. Now, between each of the cells is a junction. And what leaky gut is a breakdown of the junctions that hold together those cells. Okay, so those junctions become porous, like a sponge, yeah? Starts to open up. Now, when it starts to open up, food that hasn't been broken down fully by the digestive enzymes, so they're still going through a breakdown process, to be broken down to the core building blocks, to be recognized by the cell, to be taken through the cell into the blood, yeah? When foods that haven't broken down yet pass through those gut junctions, those cell junctions into the blood, then the blood is like, okay, cool, I don't recognize you, Mr. Apple, yeah, but I recognize your core nutrients, and when you're broken down, I recognize those. And because I don't recognize you as a whole, Mr. Apple, I am going to try and nuke you. Okay, I'm going to create an inflammatory response. I'm going to create antibodies, like they're talking about antibodies to virus. I'm going to create antibodies to you, Mr. Apple. And those antibodies are then going to go and recognize Mr. Apple. And, every time Apple comes through that broken junction, it's going to drive an inflammatory process. Your immune system is going to become activated. Those antibodies are going to go around your body, and they could be manifesting. And this is one of the positive theories around autoimmune conditions, why there's a strong correlation between gut health, eczema, psoriasis, all autoimmune conditions, and rheumatoid arthritis, inflammatory bowel disease. That those inflammatory complexes, these antibodies, are going to go around and go sit in, for example, a skin cell, end up sitting in the skin and drive inflammatory complex cascades there. And that's why you get inflammation in your skin with eczema, right? That's why there is a correlation between leaky gut and also, but it could go in your joints and cause this inflammatory process within your joints and cause a bit of arthritic changes. It could go in your scalp and cause alopecia, as an example, right? So this is one of the strong theories that's emerging out of functional medicine of what one of the drivers. That's why leaky gut is important to fix, yeah, because that process is like that is, that inflammatory process is when it manifests in disease. But what if it doesn't manifest in obvious disease? Some people might get the odd rash every now and again. Some people might get a bit of brain fog. Some people might get a bit of joint aches every now and again. They don't understand it. So I'm not saying it's the only thing that contributes, but it's definitely been seen that we're seeing it with our patients that have autoimmune conditions, that when we start to work to repair and identify leaky gut in patients and treat them for it, which I'll come on to in a second, like, things that you can do to improve and try and provide the environment for those cells to repair themselves, those autoimmune or inflammatory conditions go down, right? Makes sense? Hashimoto's thyroiditis. It's an autoimmune condition where you produce antibodies to your own thyroid. Yeah. And it starts to cause dysfunction of your thyroid. So it's been fascinating. For me, that was like, I remember my first patient applying functional medicine about 4 or 5 years ago. I've always been overseen in the way we apply it. So I have the head of functional medicine within the team, who's US-based physician, faculty of the IFM. So, in our team, we have like these experts. So the way I see it is like have a consultant, registrar, junior doctor, and we create, we can, be applying this modern medicine in a kind of more experienced way. Yeah, because the difference between knowledge and experience and experts is experience, right? And where I didn't have that experience 5 years ago of working in functional medicine, I bought, we built the team out so that we could give our patients that expertise. And yeah, first patient who had, she was in her mid-40s. She was a professional dressage rider, so horse rider by background, and she was doing that till her late 20s, Olympic level. She had 2 kids, and actually she was very public facing and lived quite a demanding lifestyle. And she was, the symptoms she described were, tiredness, brain fog, mood issues, irritability, not massively, but mild. There's some digestive issues, bloating, seen by some of the world's best physicians in their own right, at specialists, like under a thyroid physician, endocrine specialist, under someone else, but just couldn't crack it. And at that time, I was talking to her about this new functional medicine that I'd come across and I'd learned about. And she was like, oh, I'd love to give it a go. I've heard about it. So then we started working with her, optimizing her nutrition, doing some more testing. And we started to see, by giving her the right supplements, addressing some of these imbalances, using some nutritional strategies, not just the biomarkers and the balance of the biomarkers started to improve, so her antibodies started to come down, but more importantly, the way she felt started to improve. Less brain fog, more concentration, more energy, cleaner energy, being able to sleep, and that impacted her quality of life. She started training again. She hadn't done that for 5 years in professional dressage. It was, for her, she was like almost like, like real profound moments, where it was like, wow, that was the first patient I worked with 5 years ago in this way. And I was like, man, I have to double down on this. This is why I became a doctor, right? Like, obviously you can do that in the hospital. You could acutely change someone's life doing surgery and things like that, for sure. And you do that in general practice in many ways as well. But this was really satisfying, like as a GP, to be able to unlock that for her. So yeah, that was when I realized the power of looking at the processes that drive inflammation differently. Because when you talk to traditional doctors as GPs about inflammation and the autoimmune response, it's almost like, okay, rheumatoid arthritis is driven by it's an autoimmune, so it's caused by your own body attacking your joints. We don't really understand why and what triggers that and why that fully happens. We have some theories about that. But what we can do, we've developed some amazing drugs, disease-modifying anti-rheumatic drugs, and some immunomodulating drugs that can calm down your immune system. But it's not getting to the root cause of why your immune system is activated. Yeah. And tying back to what we spoke about earlier with COVID, remember what we said, it's the inflammatory response that's so dangerous with COVID, right? And some people get that. It's those same clients that are more likely to develop these eczema, psoriasis, got the bloating, these kind of issues, the obesity, the inflammation, that that get the bad symptoms with COVID-19. right? So the inflammation is the central to that. So I know we went on a bit of a kind of started as a circle, ended up in like a pentagon.
That was interesting.
And so with your question, because I haven't forgotten your question, I think I've answered like half of it so far. And I think the second half is really important, and is like, how do we repair the gut junctions? Yeah. And what causes it? So the causes of that is probably, it's thought to be overexposure to processed foods, right? Things that have additives in there, man-made things, overexposure to the cow's milk that's been processed, pasteurized, heavily pasteurized, or white bread, staple diet for us in the 90s, right?
Yeah.
Cereal, milk, bread.
No? Yeah, absolutely.
We grew up in the 80s, 90s, man. Like, come on, man. That's what I remember. Hovis was a treat.
Hovis, yeah, you was lucky. You had Hovis. I had some. The bread I got. I don't think it had a name. Hovis.
That's organic, bro. That's like worth 5 times the price nowadays. Joking. But yeah, man, like exactly, Hovis was a treat in those days. But that's what I mean. Like cereals will pump down milk. Milk is good for you. Milk is good for you. Like overexposure to processed things is more taxing for your digestive tract, and that anything more taxing for it is going to make it wear down quicker.
Yeah.
So all of these additives, all of these man-made chemicals, they all need to be processed, and they all contribute to the breakdown of the junctions between the gut cells. So how do you go about repairing it? The good news is that our body is made to self-repair. Yeah. That's how we're designed. It's a miracle, like the difference between youth and aging is the fulcrum or point we go to when the pathways that enable self-healing, we start to go into aging when they are outbalanced by the damage that's happening on a day-to-day basis. Yeah. And when I talk about these self-healing pathways, I'm referring back to the regenerative stem cell production from our bone marrow, our detoxification pathways, our own production of antioxidants. These are all natural self-healing pathways that we have. It's amazing we can cut ourselves and the cut can heal up, but that takes longer as we get older. It scars when we get older when we cut ourselves.
Oh damn. Okay.
You notice that, right? Yeah, I don't know if you noticed that bruises take longer, a little bit longer to resorb. But once you get into your late 30s, mid 30s onwards, you'll notice that your sleep also starts to become a little bit lighter. That's fascinating. When you get into your 40s and 50s.
Yeah, I noticed that. My sleep is definitely lighter.
Right.
If there's a fly in the room, that's it. My sleep is written off unless I murder that fly. Yeah, it needs to die.
Get the shotgun out.
Yeah.
the pellet gun, I should say, in the UK. But that that happens for a reason, and that's why that is that contributes. What happens when we deep sleep is when we activate the healing response. It's when our thymus gland produces T cells. It's when our bone marrow releases stem cells. Yeah. So when we're not sleeping as deeply as we age, right? We're not getting into those deep stages to drive those self-healing responses. So a trick, let's think about strategies to drive deep sleep as we get older, because we know that if we get more hours of deep sleep, we're going to be driving those healing responses more, self-healing responses more. Okay, so going back to our ability to self-heal, if we provide an environment that is less taxing for our digestive tract, for a little while, for a period, and give it some rest and say, you know what, bro, I've got your back, front and back and inside. I've got you on this, and you take it easy on your digestive tract, and you say, all right, I'm not going to be putting so much pressure on you by adding all these like toxic foods for you to digest, because I'm feeling your pain. Literally, I'm feeling your pain now. I'm going to go easy on you. I'm going to go have a lighter diet that's God-made, vegetable rich, not too many, like having to have like stodgy, kind of not too much red meat. I'm going to go easy on you, light foods that are easy to digest for a little while. Chuck in some intermittent fasting. chuck in foods that are going to help produce your own microbiome, prebiotic foods. Then you're going to start to see that that gut wall integrity can improve again. The junctions can start to repair. And then you can add in some things like a glutamine supplement, L-Glutamine, on an empty stomach.
Okay.
That's really powerful. You can even further aid your digestion by saying, you know what, I'm going to support the gallbladder and the pancreas to produce better, to help produce digestive. I'm going to take a digestive enzyme before my main meal, 15 minutes before, right? This is what we do. So we give our patients, we give them a light diet that works for them according to their lifestyle and what they need to produce in terms of energy from their body. We tell them to take a digestive enzyme before their main meal. There's different types, plant-based or animal-based, depending on where we want to be on them and what we want to be achieving. We give them a probiotic. We see how they respond to that. This is without testing, by the way. Give them probiotic, see how they respond to that. If someone takes a probiotic, important for your listeners to know, someone takes a probiotic and they get more gas, they should stop taking the probiotic and get themselves tested. It could be a sign of small intestinal bacterial overgrowth if you take a probiotic and you get more gas.
Right.
So you should stop taking that probiotic. So we give them probiotic, we give them a digestive enzyme before your main meal, and we give them L-Glutamine to take on an empty stomach. So L-Glutamine goes into the digestive tract and is one of the important amino acids to help repair the gut junctions. Do that for about 4 to 6 weeks, and you see vast improvements in more than 50%. Some people need some more deeper dive in testing to understand it a bit further. Maybe they've got fungi overgrowth, maybe they've got parasites, but more than 50 to 60% respond just from those simple 4 to 6 week protocol. Yeah, and that's very simple and easy to do.
Yeah. You know what? I've never taken L-Glutamine for gut repair before. I only knew of it as in the bodybuilding world. They say, yeah, have that as almost like as your post-workout. Put it in your post-workout shake, to help with recovery.
Repair.
That's what I know of it for, but not gut
Yeah.
repair. So, it's got multiple
Yeah.
purposes. That's pretty.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and just make sure the supplements that you're taking are bioavailable. They're nicely good from good sources, right? There's huge variability in supplements, and just reputable, clean supplements. Watch this space. I've been formulating some amazing stuff for the last couple of years.
Yeah, I was about to move on to that because I was going to say, yeah, tell us about the supplements. You'd mentioned that's what you've been working on recently. Like, what type are you looking at? Are you looking at like multivitamins? Are you looking at for those who are looking to improve their performance? Is it going to be a combination? Yeah.
So the whole range is about 50 plus supplements, nutraceuticals.
Yeah.
They're medical grade. They're made in medical facilities in the US. They're highly bioavailable. They're formulated according to supporting systems. And so, for example, if you've got signs of adrenal fatigue, they're there to support your adrenal glands. If you've got issues with your thyroid, they've got multiple individual ingredients specifically formulated to support your thyroid gland. If you've got, the leaky gut, that's the protocol, or a light protocol we'd start you on, something like that. What we wanted to create is not just supplements that sit on your shelf for the rest of your life. And we don't believe supplements should be used forever. By definition, supplements are a support. They're a crutch for you to support you to bring balance back, and then you move off them. Then you use food as medicine, lifestyle as food is your food as medicine, and lifestyle as your pharmacy. But you can go through different phases of supplementation for supporting different things according to what's going on in your body. Right. Yeah. And so that's the baseline of our approach to supplementation. Of course, we have some really cool supplements on top of that to support nootropic health, like, short-term results, like liquid glycerophosphocholone, really good for people that need a bit of focus. Take a bit of that really improves your acuity and focus because it's a precursor to acetylcholine. So some more shorter-term acting, really unique supplements we also have. So that's kind of our approach. What's that?
Can you stack that with other stuff?
100%, yeah. Yeah, 100%. So
I like
yeah.
that.
So yeah, I mean, what we're creating is a system to help you navigate supplements as well. So
Mm-mm.
help you understand what do you want to start with, going back to that triangle, depending on where you fit in and you're coming into that triangle. Some people coming in better health, some people need to start with the foundations, and then going through phases to build your biology back up into balance, so that you can support each of these phases to work the best they can. And the aim is not 50 supplements for the rest of your life and loads of confusion. No, it's spells of supplements.
Right, right. Can I
Yeah.
ask, you mentioned, yeah, so with supplements, it's not something that you should be taking for the rest of your life. But what about something like magnesium? I've heard that that's something that you should constantly take
Why?
forever
Why?
because it's, soil depletion, very difficult to get from food now. That's what I hear from, I don't know, leading experts, biohackers or whatever.
No, they are. I mean, this is, and 100%. Ideally, you test.
Hmm?
Ideally, you test. Ideally, you test, right? If
Right.
you're committing to anything to take for the rest of your life, I think it's sensible. Just check your magnesium,
Right.
and maybe and there's obvious like normal ranges and optimal ranges. If some people will sit in an optimal range, surprisingly, they have good magnesium. Some people don't, right? So I do think, however, there are some supplements that we just don't get very well from our environment, or some nutrients that we don't assimilate very well, and some that you might, depending on you, might want to be including more regularly. Things like your omega-3s, maybe a probiotic. It depends on you. It depends on if whether you can get those nutrients in the environment you live in.
Yeah.
And yeah, I agree, like urban environments are nutrient deplete, right?
Hmm.
We were living in the countryside, eating off the land. We, less likely to need supplements as often and as much. So I recognize that, and I hear that, about the kind of need to take some supplements more regularly, for sure. I just don't think that. I think that if you're committing to anything, you can test your omega-3 fatty acids and 6 fatty acid profile. There's things you can test to see where you're at personally.
You see, with your supplement range, would you have like a questionnaire where, I don't know, you ask people, I don't know, they just fill out things about themselves, and then you can uh, recommend based on that, how much they need without actual testing, or would it be?
Yes, 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 yes. So the
Yeah.
answer to that is yes. So yes, pattern recognition can direct. We're developing that out for the website. Is pattern recognition, taking you through some questions without being like an overcomplicated questionnaire, to help you, to help us through our system identify in a safe way where you're at and what you can safely take and what's good to start with for you, right? And then go through kind of a journey of improving different stages for yourself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Makes
And
total.
try to understand, where do you come in best? Like Roger, all right, cool. He doesn't need his foundation because he's not on. He's fine on ABC. His digestion sounds good. His metabolism, maybe he's showing some signs of environmental toxins. Therefore, we would recommend ABC for him.
Mhm.
But most people will be down like, okay, they might be flagging up for need for foundational support.
That's cool, man. That's
Yeah,
cool.
so trying to work out a program and we've worked out a really strong program that makes it accessible, is phased, it's sensible, and at any point, people, if they want to know more, they can then go into more depth if they have the means to, and if they have the need to, they can go into more depth, and then we can chuck in the therapies, and yeah, and I suppose you're right, you're 100% right, like it's I it's a tough one because we became a doctor in a public health system where, um you're not used to charging people, right? Like everything is free for the patient, and so like it's not, it doesn't feel nice to have to charge people for healthcare, but it's the reality that that we're in, because we have it's all private, right? All these costs are not covered by the NHS to deliver this kind of innovations, these new type of healthcare. But the responsibility that we're taking is saying, we're communicating with the traditional health system and saying, hey, look, these are the case studies that we're seeing improvements in. You guys, have a look. We're doing a case study series on hyperbaric oxygen long COVID. We're demonstrating how we're improving through case studies these autoimmune patients. So the aim is to cause a little bit of an awakening, raise some eyebrows and interest that will see them take an interest and say, hey, look, why don't we adopt some of this stuff and run our own pilot? And hopefully that will lead to a cascade of adopting these innovations into a publicly funded system. Hopefully, fingers crossed, man. That's what we're working towards. And then through that, drive down costs, make things more accessible over the next few years.
That would be amazing, because at the moment it's like we got so much garbage which is available. So you go into a place like Holland and Barrett and you pick up some multivits there, and they've got all sorts of garbage in it. Even the EPA and DHA amount in some cod liver oil it just doesn't add up. You get like a 1,000, is it 1,000 milligrams? Is it 1,000 milligram cod liver oil capsule? That's the measurement? That's the general standard, no?
I think so. Micrograms. Micrograms, I think.
Micrograms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or okay. Milligrams.
Micrograms. Okay, and then the EPA and DHA doesn't even add up. It's I don't know, it's like 110 each or something like that. And it's like, how does that work out? So it's like the rest is filled up with like rancid oils. So yeah, what you're doing there, bring in some real high-end quality supplements, almost tailored to the individual. That's the sort of service we need, and hopefully, if it can fit everybody's budget, that would be also massively ideal, because it's so unfortunate. It's like people who's more in a more financially comfortable position, they can take advantage of a lot of the toys that is available for biohacks.
One of the doctors at GPs I worked with, really amazing GP, Dr. Ben to the heart. I'm not sure who will listen to this, but I'll maybe give him a little shout out. But he was one of my trainers actually when I was training to be a GP in a practice in Poplar, Bow, and I think his father wrote a book, and who's also either a public health physician or a GP, and he came up with something called the inverse care law. He coined it himself, and basically what it describes is the people that need the care the most get the worst care. Healthcare, when it comes to healthcare, the people that need it the most are often the poorest, more deprived. They have the biggest need, but they end up getting the worst care, which is really sad in many ways. But I wouldn't say it's universally true, because like Tower Hamlets is an example of that. It's a very deprived, one of the more deprived areas in London comparatively, but has some of the best physicians and access. It's been works really hard to maintain good access to services, etc. But you're right. The private sector is where the adoption of innovation happens. Now that's not necessarily a bad thing, it's not necessarily a bad thing, because the learning has to take place and it has to be applied somewhere. And it's, as long as us as practitioners, and a lot of us practitioners do this, are taking that learning and disseminating it, then we're taking the learning that we're working with our evangelists on, who are ultimately our evangelists, right? They're the first people to try working in these advanced ways and see the benefits, and we're taking those learnings and sharing it and disseminating it and sparking other people's interests, physicians, patients, consumers, raising awareness, right? And that those all have snowballing effects. So I understand it's sad. It's just the reality of life, isn't it?
Yeah.
But you know, and that's why we had to position ourselves in the way we position ourselves with LMS as a high-end brand, to be able to recruit and speak to the language of, and to be accessible to that level of client. Level in a non kind of up and down way, just a type of client, I should say, that type of client. And through piloting and applying these types of innovative medicine and testing and therapies on them over the last 5 years, we've been able to take those learnings and work out the systems to deliver them at now a lot lower price point through non-testing based approach, and that will continue, as we, does that make sense?
Yeah.
So innovation typically happens at the private sector. Health first.
All good, man. I mean, like what you're doing is amazing, but it's got to start somewhere. It's just like, there's many like people like Dave Asprey, the the father of biohacking, as he calls himself. It creates a benchmark for other people to follow along with what he does. And what you're doing in London again creates a benchmark. People come and see what you're doing and they're like, okay, we need to do something like this. Maybe not up to this standard, but at least something similar. And as it starts to become the norm, it can become a bit more accessible to people.
Yeah. And the other thing that's been really nice is that through this type of medicine, I've now had like a few athletes approach me to work with them in this way and apply this type of deep data driven approach to their health, because it's just not applied in sports medicine very well. And having worked with Hamza Shiraz, a fantastic British talent, European WBO welterweight, super welterweight champion.
Nice.
Very smart young lad with a good head on his shoulders and a strong punch. 1-2. It's been such a pleasure working with him. And through the last year, we've been doing some cool like performance and recovery protocols using smart therapies, and from which other athletes have now started to kind of join our family. And what's nice is that they're willing to share their story, and they're willing to kind of, and they are aspirational, they are inspirational to the everyday public. And so we're hoping by doing that and by connecting those dots, not just like sharing the anonymized stories of our patients that we've worked with through case studies and traditional routes, but also working with athletes who have high-end demands, that we can start to inspire and we can start to speak to more people, young people across different types of people. So it becomes way more inclusive and becomes way more applicable to everyone. I became, I was appointed the head of medical for the WBC Middle East, which is cool. So kind of trying to introduce more safer practice into boxing, recovery from head injuries and after fights, do brain mapping pre and post. So it's really, we're getting to apply some of these high-end stuff on the athletes, learn from that and apply it through a distilled manner onto irregular everyday people. So now what am I doing? I'm doing Vo2 Max testing as part of everyone for my patients. Yeah, every one of my patient gets a Vo2 Max. Now, why is that important for everybody? Because they can understand, why not? I want to know my lung capacity to see, I want to know what I can produce. Now, it's not just knowing a number as my lung capacity. It's being able to explain to them, like, if we can improve your lung capacity, your engine can perform better. When you put your foot down on your accelerator in your car, it can be more responsive and you can go a bit further on that one gear,
Yeah.
So I'm lucky. I'm getting to apply some of these cool testing that I've typically only applied to like athletes and stuff now through, and now get to apply more regular day people. So when you come in for a consultation with us, that is one of the metrics that we're also looking at on you, the Vo2 Max, the metabolomic testing markers that you produce from this human body. We put you on a Carol bike, fantastic, standard.
You got one of those, got a Carol bike here? Okay.
Yeah, we've got a Carol bike. Yeah, so we'll do, you got to come in, Roger, when you come in post-COVID, we'll go through a little circuit with you.
Yeah, we get that recorded as well.
Yeah, for sure. And we actually did an experiment not long ago where we took a guy, a chap called Josh Holland. I don't know if you've heard about him. Really smart biohacker, personal trainer. He came, got introduced to me. Anyway, he's got his own Carol bike in the US, and he got his highest score, and he's been using it for a while. And he came in. I was like, okay, why don't come jump on our Carol bike? He did it. He got a higher score than he'd got back in New York, so he got his highest score there. Then we put him through a protocol of therapies. We put him through an IV laser, hyperbaric oxygen, cryotherapy. It's called a Superman protocol, and that we put together. And in my mind, I didn't want to tell him because I just want to kind of semi-anonymize it to him. But in my mind, I was always going to put him on the bike at the end just to see what output, because it gives you output scores.
Yeah.
And so he'd never broken the 1,000 mark. He's always been around in the nines, yeah. And then so we gave him a little upper shot after the Superman protocol, and he went back on the bike again. Bear in mind, you should only do it once in a day, right? They say, the Carol bike.
Yeah.
So we got him back on the bike again, and he broke the 1,000 score. Like he went from he improved his performance by 12%.
But and this was morning. After he had done some other protocols in the day.
Well, with me, yeah. So morning he came in, rested, etc. Got his highest score that he's ever got on the Carol bike. We put him through an IV drip with the IV nutrients, with the intravenous laser. You know how we activate different cellular pathways, focused on red light into his veins, support his mitochondria, and green to increase his oxygen carrying capacity. Then we put him in the oxygen chamber, so high pressure oxygen therapy, to flood his body with oxygen and the cells, which provide energy for each of the cells. Put him in the cryo, because that causes the flooding, constriction of your blood vessels, and then vasodilation, which causes the flooding of those nutrients to be delivered around all your tissues and cells. So now he's been through that. Quick upper shot, which is our herbal remedy to stimulate. It's a great pre-train as well, stimulate your mood and give you mild euphoria. Stuck him on the bike, and he got 12% improvement on his highest ever score that he had in the morning. So doing things like that, we'll do something like that with you as well, where we can show you that actually by working in a scientific way with your biology, you can massively increase the performance, right? And that obviously, like you said, doesn't apply to everyday people, but it might be applied for someone that who's exhausted, been traveling or not traveling, and just needs to be on their A game and just get out of their head, and hasn't been sleeping and needs to feel good again. That can be applied to that person, or the athlete, or the high performer, or the longevity person. So that's the kind of experimental lab stuff that we do, which is fun.
It sounds exciting. It sounds so exciting. And, to find out where your markers are at with everything, and then see where you can up your game. That's a really important thing as well. Whether you are an athlete or just your everyday person who just want to live a flamboyant lifestyle, you just want to live better,
Right, that's it. It doesn't even need to be flamboyant. just needs to be better than yesterday,
Yeah.
That's it, man. And it can be.
Yeah. So where do you plan to take all of this? What's the next step? I know,
bro. All honesty, man. When I started the old business, I used to have a pre-definition of success in my mind. I was like, okay, and in a year's time, I want A, B, C, D, and that is success for me. And I ended up finding that being such a stressor for me, that I just, it just didn't bring the best out of me, And so for me now, I've defined my success that I don't mind if this doesn't take off and doesn't go anywhere. I'm already happy with the amount of effort I've put in to create this type of healthcare, and we're already doing it on people, and I'm happy with that. I'm just blessed and happy with that, and everything else is a bonus. Yeah, of course, I'm setting myself up to to be able to, like I said, democratize healthcare and democratize innovations in healthcare and support a revolution to some sort in this new era healthcare. But if it doesn't happen, it's okay. It's all good,
Mm.
That is something I've really implemented with COVID, is the attachments to my predefined things of certain success. Now I am successful. I am happy, and I don't need to like have X thousand pounds in my account or be earning ABC. And maybe I'm saying that because I'm not married, don't have kids yet, and it'll be different when that does happen, right? But for sure, like I feel happy. I feel blessed to be where I am, and I feel I'm at a stage where, what, even if it all goes belly up, I tried.
Yeah,
I
that's,
tried.
I think where your heart is at, I shouldn't see that happening, it, in terms of just the feeling that I have, you're
Thanks,
doing it
bro.
out of love and passion for your fellow human. You know, obviously it's a high end facility, but it's real love, and yeah, I've just got faith that it's gonna continue to do well, even if it goes through the roller coaster as most companies do. Um, yeah, I see that happening. So
Thanks, bro.
no, man, look, thanks a lot for your time. But where are you located in case anybody needs to get down to your facility and check out all your
Yeah,
amazing
so
toys?
currently located, the kind of lab or lounge, or what we call it, is in Chelsea at the moment.
Chelsea.
Um, and watch this space. We are looking at other moving that potentially the health side into other parts of London. And just watch this space. But for now, we're in Chelsea.
Chelsea.
And a lot of the stuff we can do is work. We can work remotely with people as well. So but it's always nice to come in and get some state altering experiences and experience how you can change your state and, like energy and mood and vitality, and experience that, because experiencing is believing. And that's why, I created and designed the center to be such like a, so beautiful, is to start people to feel like, feel inspired as you come in the space. You're like, wow, I've never been to a clinic like this before.
Never.
Like, I want to be
When
want
I
to be
got there,
part of this.
yeah,
Yeah, you
incredible.
remember we did a little launch party with when Dr. Mark was down, and with Dr. a cardiologist and stuff,
Yeah, it
and
was.
that was
Oh,
fun.
I was like, wow. At first, I thought I was at the wrong location because I thought it was like a night bar. I thought I was
Yeah.
expecting, I don't know, maybe see some half-clothed strippers somewhere, and I don't know, like, I was like, where am I? The lights, I was like, but and then I was handed a shot. I was like, okay, I must be at the wrong location to find out that it wasn't the shot that I expected. What was it exactly that was in that drink? It was
That
like,
was like, had different herbs to stimulate. That was an upper shot. So they had like capicachu, gotu kola, cola nuts, rhodiola rose, rosemary cacao, theobroma cacao. Like 6, 7 ingredients to stimulate your mood and dopamine systems. But yeah, bro, like health should be fun, man.
mhm.
Health should start when you're healthy, and when you're healthy, you're usually down the pub, right? So
Yeah,
I wanted to create an environment. That's what that herbal bar concept was all about. Is like create an environment where, we can help people realize that you can change your state. We're all scientists in some shape or form. We drink different types of alcohol to experience different types of effects and different amounts at different times, and different drugs to do different things to us. And but we can do that using plants and natural herbs, and in tincture, that are in their whole form and safer, more beneficial, without the downside and toxicity and processing. So we can get more energy, we can get mild euphoria, we can get, you know, even libido improvements, you can get like, mood improvements. So
awesome.
that's what that herbal bar was about, is like, giving people an experience to realize they can change their state. And that's where I came up with that concept. And then you go downstairs, I've got a DJ booth there as well, and I've got my decks there.
Wicked.
I'll make some noise. Literally, it's noise right now. And it sounds like binaural beats when I get on the decks at the moment. But then you go downstairs, you got the lab, and you got this like super cool, like massive hyperbaric oxygen chamber that just, you look at it and it's got green lights on the inside. You're like, man, I just want to go inside. Don't care what it does to me, rather than like a claustrophobic chamber. This is what I mean. I'm blessed to have been able to create that, because if you're a businessman, and if my business was run by finance people, I would go to them and say, hey boss, like I want to invest in this machine, and they'd be like, no, just get the cheaper one, because you can't charge any more for the big one. Just get the cheaper one. But boss, I can, it's more of an experience. Listen, mate, who controls the numbers here? You know what I mean? It's good. What are you talking about? It's a numbers game, and this is where, what I wanted to create conceptually is a great experience that through health. And that's why we invested so much in state of the art, like hyperbaric multiple person oxygen chambers, where you're not going to get claustrophobic, cryotherapy that goes down to -140, coldest in the UK, this herbal bar, meditation pods. Right. And because I want more people to engage with it, because health should start when you're healthy. And like, if you're doing things from when you're healthy, you're gonna keep your self-healing mechanisms on par with the inflammation and the processes that cause damage. So you're not going to go down this aging pathway as quickly internally. So that's it. And that is a space of the clinic behind me, of the one in Chelsea.
Beautiful.
I think we were standing back there getting jolly on the upper shots.
Yeah, I had quite a few of those. I was like, yeah, hit me. And then there was some cocktails going around. I was like, this is the life.
We missed those days, huh?
Yeah.
That was just before COVID, few months before COVID.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah. And you had like a great circle of people there as well. Like, there was one guy that created an app which was for it was like some sort of food app where you can choose the restaurant in accordance with whatever type of diet you have.
That's right. Yeah, he was working. I think it's called Food Styles by Jacob. Yeah, Food Styles, I think it was.
That was amazing. I think he only had
working
a beta version on that.
Correct. Yeah.
It was phenomenal. I was like, dude,
it's such a great idea and concept, and he's been working super hard on it with his team. I hope wishing him luck on that. Because great idea. It would be so relevant. There's some cool people there. We had Mark from the US. We had a few doctors in. Managed to get some doctors in to try and get exposed to this. And it's always funny getting doctors into the space, right? Because they're partly like, what the hell am I in? What is this place? And you get some that really wow, I want to be a part of this, that I just have, and you instantly can see where people have been, where people's mindset when it comes to health, how open-minded they are, or how indoctrinated in traditional medicine they are, or where they sit on that spectrum, whether they're seeking to understand things more and seeking to work at the science level rather than and that's where we're working, or not, and so it's always cool. I always like to bring doctors in, everyone invite them in, and just like I just see their faces as they go through it. It's like, ozone, what? You what? Hyperbaric, what? You that just nah. This is nonsense. This got to be crazy, doc. You're crazy. Like you get that kind of response as well. That's real. And what can you do, man? And this is but yeah, you just got to keep helping these people understand by going back to the science, the role of it, and showing the evidence. But then you get others that are like, who really well read, and they're like, yeah, I know this works massively in tissue healing, so I can understand why wouldn't this work in reducing inflammation and other stuff. Yeah.
And you have a sister as well, right?
I have two. I have one sister. Yeah. So I started LMS my sister started LMS in medical aesthetics. She's a cosmetic dermatologist, dual board certified UK, US. And she wanted to bring a new flavor to aesthetic medicine. And this was back in 5, 6, 7 years ago, when no one was really doing it that much. And there was no Medi-Spa concept here in the UK. She trained a bit in the US, and she's, you know, it was actually through that I realized how you can, by understanding skin aging, we decided to devise protocols to reverse skin aging by understanding what happens at a cellular level with skin, by understanding how hair follicles age and go through hair growth phases. We started to create protocols to intervene if you started to show signs of aging within the hair, you know. So that was it. Is that, wow, like our body's super responsive. If I do the micro needling and use tretinoin cream and vitamin A's and E's and stuff, and this is how we can change the behavior of your skin. It responds. And I wanted to apply that then to the internal processes that cause aging. So what we're deciding to do, and that's why part of the reason why I'm creating the new brand, is to take LMS Health and rebrand it towards the new brand that we're launching in a couple of weeks. It's going to be called Human, HUM. I should have done a drum roll. That's more for myself. Yeah, a little drum roll. Woo! It's called Humans, a HUM2N, and we're keep an eye out for it. We're going to be launching that in a couple of weeks, the pre-launch, and yeah, let the fun and games begin on that side. Yeah,
can't wait, man. Can't wait. We definitely got to hook up once all this COVID malarkey's finished. Then I'm coming down. I'm going to take some more uppers, and you show me around the facility. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. And we'll go through a little biohacking protocol that we put together. We should do that. So Superman, see, get some some objective markers beforehand and some objective markers afterwards. Maybe we'll do the Vo2 Max pre and Vo2 Max post on you.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what they say. I'm doing cycling quite frequently, so it's a lot better than how it used to be. I'll be interested to see where I'm at there. So let's make it happen. Let's make it happen. Let's put it in the diary. Okay, so where can people find you? I know you're on Instagram, but just take me through that again. What's your Instagram handle?
It's bydoctor.e, so at bydoctor.e, and then find the clinic, so that pre-mid-Feb at lms.health, post-mid-Feb at HUM2N. And obviously also on LinkedIn and some other stuff. I think we're on Facebook. I'm myself, I'm not on Facebook, but I think the business is
LMS.
Please feel free to stay in touch. We're on Twitter, Clubhouse as well, I think.
Clubhouse. Okay.
Just joined Clubhouse recently, but I'm, again, I haven't managed to get into it, but it's looking like it's going to be a lot of people talking about it, which is great.
Yeah. Are you not in there yet?
I'm in there.
Oh, okay.
Are you in there? You must be.
Yeah, I'm in there. I've been in there a couple of times, but I've just been too busy to hop in there. It's pretty nuts.
Yeah, it looks cool. It's another one to kind of learn about, right?
Yeah.
And I think every dog has its day, and I think I don't know. I just don't see like Instagram and Facebook forever dominating the way we communicate things. I think it's definitely going to stick around for a while, but especially with this new WhatsApp thing that they're talking about, the ability of Facebook to kind of take your data and the rise of Signal and other messenger apps. It's interesting, like where is this? And maybe, so I don't know. Let's see what happens, man. See what the future holds. Take one day at a time.
Exactly, my friend. Exactly.
Yeah, but we know that you're going to be here on Spotify, on the podcast.
What was that?
Apple Podcasts. We know where to find you. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and where else?
SoundCloud.
Nice.
There's another one called Stitcher.
Oh, nice.
Stitcher is supposed to be a big one. I was on that a bit late until I heard loads of people talking about it. I was like, all right, let me sign up to Stitcher. So I'm on there as well. Google Podcast, YouTube as well. Well, that's not an audio, but yeah, in case people want to see the video.
Nice. So this will be on YouTube as well?
Yes, that's right. I'll put this video on YouTube. Yeah. So do you have a podcast yourself?
No.
Might be something worth doing.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, look, there's only so many hours in the day, right? And I'm trying to, be conscious of balance as well. And it's a marathon, not a sprint. Um, and yeah, like that's why I haven't really hugely spent a huge amount of energy profiling myself. I really just want to kind of build the system and the delivery of like really high quality care. It's obviously necessary in this day and age. So it's that balance of trying to strike. But once I'm like, happier with everything in the system and the new business up and running, I'll probably get some of my messages out there for sure, out there a bit more. Yeah. So, but yes, for me, it's about kind of like the 10-year plan, which gives me a bit of time where it takes the pressure off. I keep reminding myself, yeah, look, it's 10 years. Don't worry. Like, go on holiday to Brazil for a couple of weeks. It's fine. Take your parents away, go for a week. It's all right, man. Take Sunday off, go for long walks with your friends and family. Like that stuff to me has been such a game changer for me, bro. Honestly, massive, massive for me to start to reconnect with people that I want to reconnect with, and my cousins, my friends, my family. That I'd let you can get into this entrepreneur mindset, and you can just lose that human connection with people. And happiness really does come from human connection, man. And I've been that soul, that the entrepreneur was single that just ended up like projecting my self value from my business. I've been there, and this an unhealthy place to be. So I'm glad now I can be a bit more detached from the success of my business, as to derive my self value and to just like spend more time, make more time for my loved ones.
Yeah, very important. That's good, man. That's really, really important. I definitely second that. Time with loved ones is everything, and human connection. I've been trying to connect with old friends, but I don't think everybody understands the value as much as many others. Like yourself and me, some people don't really get it. But yeah, that's a subject for another time. But look, Mo, it's been absolutely
Yes.
fantastic, my friend. Always gold. I just want to get down to LMS and yeah, just play around in the playground.
Yeah, man.
Let's
I
sit.
can't wait to have you'll be there though. You're on the guest list, bro. Don't worry. The first party that comes up.
Wicked. Like it.
Yeah, bro,
Like
we're
it.
gonna do that. Yeah, I can't wait. Yeah, I can't wait to see you too, bro. Thank you for having me. Thank you for listening to my rants, everyone. If you're still here, I'll be very surprised. And good on you for staying. Or maybe you just like switched off for half an hour. For maybe just catch the tail end. But thank you for listening.
Oh, it's good.
I know I can go off on a rant from time to time. I'm reminded very often by that, by my friends for that. So, Roger, thanks for your patience with me today, bro.
It's been brilliant. No, seriously. I'd love to have chat. That's one of the reasons why I set up a podcast, so I can just chat for fun. And this has been great. So awesome, bro.
You're doing
Until
a great
soon,
job,
man.
man. Take care, bro.
God bless.
God bless. God bless.